Again, as a punter, I think one of the things that floored me with it was the formal challenges that you'd set yourself, and then met them. Perhaps none more so than in Quiet Night In, which is an entirely silent episode. We've got a clip actually. Can we see a bit of Quiet Night In? So your director there was David Kerr. How much did you work with him in advance on it? What was the process there? Because it feels like you would have had to. Was that the case?
Well, we wrote it with, I don't quite know how the geography of the house was important to the script, and we wrote it imagining we would find it and be able to alter it slightly, or we would just build the things we needed to be in relation to the things happening, because it was 28 pages of stage direction. And then they found that house, incredibly, and I went one day with him and did a whole day tit for tat going through what we'd written and how it could work in situ. And it was nearly all right, wasn't it? It was very little needed to be changed. We hadn't written any of a swimming pool, and that was added in because there was one. We thought we have to somehow use that. But yeah, it was just a day of going through and he looked at where the shots would be and how we would use the work surfaces of the kitchen in relation to where we'd hide. And we always were quite mindful of thinking, well, how far are we stretching the idea that we could not be seen? And I think John was quite rigorous about, well, I think that's not believable. I mean, even in the midst of all these ludicrous things happening, he would say, I think you'd hear the pebbles. And we were like, well, there was going to be music over it, so you won't hear it. And it was just a funny idea to write, because it's not a silent comedy in the way that we're doing. We're not doing captions or anything. We're quiet for a reason.
There is sound.
And we have to be quiet because we're robbing the house. But yeah, it all came together fine. That was a great find, that house.
Was it harder to write without dialogue-based jokes? Was it?
It was a leap of faith, really. I mean, we could imagine. We've always enjoyed physical comedy. We could imagine how, like the gag we've just worked there. We could. I mean. That is how we imagined it.
Yeah, absolutely. They filmed it from different angles, and I was like, we'll never use it. It'll always just play in that scene and creeping in. And he was like, oh, we'll get the sides in case. And I was like, yeah, but it's not going to be as funny. I just want him there, and then just the lights coming on each time. And it was right. But we didn't think we could do all of it, 28 minutes of silence. We thought maybe we'd get first 10 minutes, and then we'll have to speak. But it would be good to get that far in, and then we just kept going, didn't we?
Yeah, I think the more you write, the more adventurous you become, and the more confident you become in your own writing and your own ability to deliver something. And I think it's a hard script to read because it is like a really crap novel. But we knew, each of those stages, like with the two dogs and throwing the dog at the window and him under the bed with the sex doll, we knew we had a good series of set pieces, and we knew there was something at stake that would propel you through the half hour. And I think once you've got that, and you've got some characterization in there as well, it just all came together beyond our wildest dreams, really.
Yeah, it's good.
The other thing I felt watching it as a punter was there was this sophistication to it, this level of achievement that felt like a culmination of a journey.
A culmination?
Well, not a final culmination.
Saying we're done.
But in terms of, as you say, the confidence and just the integrity of each one of them. For example, the cast, extraordinary cast in Sardines. How much were you involved in the casting? Do you
a lot, yeah. We do try to put forward. I mean, we never write with anyone in mind, because then you're only disappointed when you can't get them, or you've really thought about having someone, and then... So it's all very last minute, isn't it? I mean, it was great. These were all very appealing to actors to do, because it was a week, 5 days work when you come and do this. And we just put lots of offers out. We didn't audition anybody. We just said, you'd be great, would you please come and do it? And I think they all said yes, everyone we wanted. And it was lovely, because we've had people over the years say they want to work with us, and that's great when you got to call their bluff at some point. And they all said yes, which was great.
And did you ever, or do you ever, give notes to actors, or do you trust and let them do what they're doing?
Sometimes they'll do it far better than we imagined. I mean, Tim Key, that was in Sardines, was brilliant in that part, and I think he brought it and made so much more than was on the page. It was kind of a obvious kind of IT nerd with the way we wrote it, and he made it kind of much funnier than that and subtler. And Len Catherine's Catherine Parkinson as well. So if you get good people, you hope that they'll do it. It's all about the casting, I think. You can really get a lot out of people. And no one, I don't think, has ever really badly done a part that we've written. They're just not getting it. I think we've never let it dare get to that stage. But there is a little bit of a leap of faith that you think they'll be able to do it. But
also, I think you've got to be aware, as actors ourselves, we know that if you get a note 3 times and they're still not happy with it, you're probably not going to crack it because you don't get it. Yeah. So you're only going to destroy their confidence by keep cracking away at it. And so you embrace what they've brought to it, which maybe is different to what you imagined. But as long as it feels funny and interesting.
Yeah,
we're very collaborative, I think. We're not dictatorial, and that goes throughout the whole process and the editing as well. We're involved right to the end, but it's not our way or that's it. We're always willing to work with new people.
Brian Eno's got the music producer's got this thing. He says that he studied art and art history, and from an early age he cottoned onto the fact that individual genius was a bit of a myth, and actually what drives things he called senius, which sounds like a sort of a bit of a crude pun, but the idea being that what produces terrific stuff is people working together. Would you agree with that?
No. No, of course, yeah, I definitely, we dare not presume we are brilliant at all aspects of.
But you work together. I mean, starting with the two of you, each of you are able enough to have had a career as individual writer performers, and yet you've chosen to carry on working together.
Yeah, well, I think, ultimately, despite the fact that we do things separately, it's always the most rewarding. It's the most perilous, and everything's at stake when it's our thing again. And at the other end, when it comes out, it's you're to blame if it's not well received, and that matters. And it's like presenting the baby to the world again. And when you're an actor in someone else's thing, it's the easiest thing in the world, really. So you just go in and do the best you can be, but you haven't got the thing of reading the Guardian Guide and what have they said this week and how many stars. But it's great. It's the best of all worlds to think we can write ourselves these great parts, and hopefully just keep doing what tickles us. Mm.
Let's have some questions. It's that time. Does anyone have anything they would like to ask? Yes, this lady in the front.
I wanted to ask you, your work is so creative, it's exciting, almost surreal. For viewers, was it very different living in such a real world when you played Malcolm Webster?
Yes. Well, I mean, it was an odd thing for me to get that part at all, I think. I mean, people haven't... No, it shouldn't have been, because I am an actor. But for the first time in about... But it apparently only just occurred to people that I was an actor. I got a lot of really nice things said about it, but it was always like with slight, oh. And so that really annoyed me. But I think we've always had that. You always have that strange thing which is totally the other way around, where the comedy is the easier thing to do, apparently, and it's so not. But anyone could do a dramatic, you're not asking anything of anyone until the clap at the end, but, do a comedy and no one's laughing, you hear you're failing, and that's a very different thing. But Malcolm Webster was, really a horrible experience to film that, really. And and it was good that it was all contained. We filmed it all in Ireland. And I was kind of in that mindset for that time without my family around. I really felt like I came out the other side of it with a shaved head, which was horrible to return to. I didn't really feel like I was myself again until my hair grew back. But the duty of care and the weight of how he had destroyed lives, it felt a very hugely responsible undertaking to kind of get it right. And I felt that we had, and I felt like right from the start, everyone that had been involved in those crimes was on board, all the wives, the ones that were alive, and the brother of Claire, who we murdered. So they were all on board, and they'd seen the script from the start, so I knew they were all happy with it, if you can be happy with such a thing. So but it crossed my mind every day. Are we right to be doing this? Are we giving him, what are we doing, giving him any kind of rendering, As a psychopath, he'd watch it, and he did see it. ITV got a complaint from him, saying he wasn't happy with his portrayal. But because he's never admitted it, he still thinks he's innocent. But so that it was, a horrible experience. I mean, kind of great as an actor if you stand aside from the ghoulish nature of it, because it was a brilliant part to play. And my version of Malcolm was the version that the wives got, really. I just tried to play him as the convincing, plausible man that they all saw. It was very important to make it look like that the women were not idiots. I think you tell it anecdotally as a story, and they said themselves that we can't. I tell this to people and they don't believe it, and so I think it was as an artifact to point to and say it was kind of like that thing that happened to us. I think it was quite cathartic for them, actually. But yeah, a very different experience, and I was pleased at the end of it to go on and do back to Inside Number 9. It was nice to kind of just be free of it and be funny again, because I felt like it didn't cripple me, and I didn't think, oh, I really don't like doing it. I really loved doing it, but I think I do enjoy doing the comedy. And I felt quite like a breath of fresh air to be allowed to have my funny bones again at the end.
Yes, gentleman at the end.
Thanks. What's next for you guys? What projects you have on the horizon?
Well, we've got to write some more Number 9s. We've got another series in the pipeline, which we've filmed the first 2 in December, and then another 2 in January, another 2 in February. So that's the layout of the land. We've got a couple of scripts that are kind of roughly written, and we're going to go back into working on those. But yeah, that's it, isn't it? We've got to start thinking.
Yeah, it's exciting and also quite daunting, because the first one was well received.
Some good ideas in those first ones.
But yeah, that's what we're doing next. And beyond that, we're not sure. We'll see what happens.
Steve, you've just completed filming Map and Lucia, which you've written, haven't you?
That's right. Yeah, that was an adaptation of some books by E.F. Benson, Map and Lucia books. So that'll be out at Christmas, and I'm in that as well.
But that's a long beloved thing of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, I've always loved the novels from the original Channel 4 series, so it was a great joy. I heard BBC were interested in developing it, and and I did it without Reece. It's one of the few things I've written on my own. But because you already were basing it on novels, it was a lot easier to get a head start in a way. But it's I learned an awful lot doing it. Put it that way.
Yes, gentleman there.
How do you decide who portrays which characters? And have there ever been any switches?
Yes, we often have switched. I mean, I remember Pauline from the Restart in League of Gentlemen. I did it all the time in rehearsal, and then last minute I said, Steve should do it. I don't know why. I just felt like he'd done it better than me.
David and Maureen.
And David and Maureen, we never knew right until the end who was going to play those two. Yeah, they were swapping around constantly. So,
I think it's quite good to not pinpoint this is my character. Otherwise, when you're writing it, you might become a little bit too obsessed with every line of dialogue for that character, and to make sure every character is one that you would want to play. For example, in Sardines, we didn't know there was a cast of 12. We could have played any of those parts. And even within the couple, we didn't know which side of the couple we'd be on. But in that way, you're kind of creating each character.
I mean, even in, yeah.
No, we've never fallen out. Well, not really. we've had. Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I wanted to, and then I quickly dispelled it. But I remember in the 5th episode of Inside Number 9, the one set in the dressing room,
the understudy.
The understudy, saying that I should be the other actor and you be the understudy. I wanted it that way around. Yeah. Because I felt it was just like another quite straight part for me to play. And it was a bit like the one in Tom and Jerry. And in the end, it was kind of not right that we did that. But it would have been
my argument was I look far too old to play anyone's understudy.
Yeah. But so yeah, not really. Not. I mean, I remember us thinking people might be sick of the sight of us in those Inside Number 9s, which is why we quite deliberately didn't appear in one each, just so that people wouldn't think it was a. We were terrified of people thinking it was a vanity project, weren't we?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did. We thought, we don't want it to look like it's just those two just doing parts each week. But then Jonathan Ross said to me, just make sure you're in them all next time, which was very kind of him to say. So it made me think, oh, maybe people do actually like the idea of seeing us together in things. But yeah, we were kind of thinking, it might just become a bit like repetitious that we're just kind of...
Also, if you start from a point of view, if there's got to be a part for me and a part for Reece, it kind of limits who your characters are going to be.
We did write the stories and then thought, is there a part in it for us? And then that way it's the best story rather than just shoehorning yourself into it.
Whereas with Psychoville, we just throw a huge cast and we knew we'd just pick and choose.
Slay them all, yeah.
It's time for one more question, I think. Yes, that lady there, yes. Yes, you.
So we've seen that you like to cover dark subjects, like murder, child abuse and sardines. Has there ever been a subject that where either you or your producers had to say that's too far?
Boringly, there hasn't, actually. No. No, I don't think we've ever thought of anything they've said, you can't do that, guys, you know. No.
I think you know, the sardines one is a good example because it is a very, you know, controversial subject and not one to be handled lightly or played for laughs. And we were very well aware of that. And we felt we'd handled it very sensitively.
I mean, it's barely in it as the script, isn't it? We went back in. It wasn't in the script, and then we thought, well, let's just add in this extra element. And it's so carefully. There's very little actually mentioned. There's just the odd tension of something in the past talked about, and there's just the odd line. So it's very lightly sketched in.
We actually don't like it when people say, oh, I couldn't watch that, it's too upsetting. I mean, we like to push it as far as we can, but we don't like it when people are upset by what we do. We don't want to drive people away. We want to people who love the kind of same sense of humour to embrace it, but we're not about repulsing people and making people feel sick. We're about, you know, entertaining them, but in a slightly skewed way.
Yeah.
Well, on that very positive note, can we thank Stephen Reece for this afternoon and for everything they've given us thus far?
Thank you.